Soul Land 198 Original Novel DouLuo DaLu. Chapter 231. Evil Fire Phoenix Spirit Avatar. TL by Bagelson. Xiao Bai? Even Xiao Bai? The Bai is an idiot one. It really is an appropriate name. Oscar couldn't help saying in a low voice. Daimyo Bai saw Xiao Wu with an ill expression, her eyes still with an ice-cold light. Coughing slightly, he pulled Zhu Zuqing over to one side. Fatty and Oscar also immediately retreated, Oscar pulling Ning Rong, Fatty calling out to Bai Chenxiang in the sky. In Tang San's eyes, this group of treasonous fellows had swiftly retreated to the side, only leaving behind Tang San and Xiao Wu standing there. Xiao Wu currently didn't seem like a beauty, but rather like a volcano that could explode at any time. Tang San's spiritual force was formidable, and he could clearly sense Xiao Wu on the verge of erupting. Heart twitching, he imitated the devil spirit Great White Shark King Xiao Bai's previous tone. My mistake, I apologize. I'm sorry, Xiao Wu. You know, Xiao Wu suddenly returned to her senses. Seeing Tang San's apologetically smiling appearance, she couldn't keep her expression tight, and burst into giggles. Seeing her laughing, Tang San's heart immediately relaxed. Laughing was good. He hurriedly stepped forward to hold her hand. Xiao Wu took a step back, avoiding his hand. Her smile vanished, once again transforming into an ice-cold expression. Don't touch me. Did you forget what I said to you last time? Tang San smiled. Xiao Wu, don't be like that, don't I know I did wrong? It's not that I didn't want to let you bear it together with me, it's just that in those circumstances, I was nervous. Nervous, so I... At this point, even he himself couldn't keep explaining. The facts were there, and Tang San was never good at sweet words. He could only look awkwardly at Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu suddenly stepped forward, grabbing Tang San's right ADM and bringing it to her mouth, then bit down hard on his forearm. Tang San grimaced from the pain, but didn't dare make sound, obediently letting Xiao Wu bite and also controlling his spirit power to not react. Just like Tang San didn't know how to explain it to Xiao Wu, even though Xiao Wu was angry, she didn't know how to punish Tang San. Tang San didn't let her appear in the midst of danger in order to protect her. Therefore, she also could only use a method like this to show her displeasure with him. When Xiao Wu let go, Tang San hastily put away his grimace, looking at Xiao Wu as if it was nothing, asking with concern. Xiao Wu, are your teeth all right? Xiao Wu stared blankly. Seeing Tang San's fawning appearance, she finally couldn't help laughing again, throwing herself into his arms and forcefully beating his chest. Big idiot, damn you! I'm ignoring you! Tang San dim-wittedly let Xiao Wu beat him, his heart relaxing. Each time he faced Xiao Wu, no matter how intelligent he was in a fight, his mind turned to porridge. I'm going back. Xiao Wu seemed tired of beating him, and bit Tang San's chest again. In a flash of red light, house returned within him. Xiao Wu's body naturally also returned to its previous vacant appearance. Tang San held Xiao Wu's body, secretly heaving a sigh of relief and rubbing his chest. Looking at the vacant Xiao Wu in his arms, his heart ached. He'd prefer to be bitten by Xiao Wu every day, to see her angry, than to see the emptiness in her eyes now. Softly kissing her forehead, holding her tightly, he secretly swore that, once they were finished with the trials on the Sea God's Island, no matter what, he would resurrect Xiao Wu first. 76th rank. There were still another 14 ranks to restoring Xiao Wu. Coaxed her. Ma Hongjun stuck his head out from behind. Tang San turned around to look. The 5 devils and Bai Chenxiang were already gathered, each and every one with looking like they were holding back laughter, apparently in need of a spanking. He snapped. You treasonous fellows! Daimyo Bai coughed once. Little San, you can't blame us for this. Yes. Xiao Wu has managed to return to her body to be affectionate with you, we can't go interrupting you. Oscar immediately displayed his formidable ability to change the topic. Little San, that little idiot just now said you were the Lord Sea God's chosen person, what did that mean? Have you thought about it? His subject change was extremely successful, Tang San's expression immediately brightened, lowering his voice. I still can't be sure of the true answer, but from the name of my trials, as well as what that Xiao Bai said, I believe the trials we face should be even more difficult than originally. As for that Sea God, whether it exists or not, even though I can't guess why it would treat me so, it shouldn't be maliciously. That can be proven by that golden light protecting me just now. Since he has no ill intention, and the enormous help these trials are to increase our strength, we don't need to think too much about it right now. It's enough as long as we do our best to increase our strength. Once we leave this place, our goal is the 80th rank. When we return to the mainland then, we'll at least have the strength to defend ourselves, and won't have to worry about fighting Spirit Hall powers. Daimyo Bai asked. Then what do we do next? Tang San said without the slightest hesitation. Besides Fatty continuing to work hard to attack the 70th rank, the rest of us will constantly go into the water, and try to fight there. The drag of the sea water is quite large, and further adding the strange energy, it's also a kind of pressure to us. Moreover, constantly trying to break through the blockade led by the Devil Spirit Great White Shark King, fighting it, our fighting strength in the ocean will constantly rise. Even Xiao Bai herself said that she won't attack us directly. Under such circumstances, don't you think she's the best sparring partner for us? Let's not think about how to pass the test, first practice how to fight underwater while she blocks, that's equal to learning how to fight in an environment like a domain. Zhu Zuoqing said. That's right, if we can all cooperate in the sea, then wouldn't that make our teamwork on land even faster, and even more invulnerable? Ma Hongjun said. Third brother, how about I go train together with you? Anyway, there's no suitable spirit beast here to become my spirit ring, I won't be able to break through even if I cultivate to the 70th rank. Tang San said. Who said there's no suitable spirit beast so you can't have a 7th spirit ring? Don't mind anything else right now. Cultivate assiduously and break through the bottleneck, at that time I'll have ways for you to obtain a 7th spirit ring. Ah! Ma Hongjun looked distracted, but he didn't ask anything else, directly choosing to trust in Tang San. Actually, not just him, the other 6 of the Shrek 7 devils all had a close to blind faith in Tang San. Tang San would never speak without thinking, and his character was absolutely completely trustworthy. Zhu Zuoqing said. Third brother, when do we start? Daimyo Bai laughed out loud. Why ask that? Time is tight and the mission urgent. Something like finding 100,000-year spirit beast isn't easy. Further one that won't attack directly. Naturally we'll recover our spirit power, and start right away. Everyone smiled at each other, agreeing by chance to sit down cross-legged and start cultivating, recovering the spirit power they expended before. Oscar even more put his energy into starting to remake his clone mirror sausages. Tang San still didn't teach his internal respiration method to the others, because the spirit power cultivation techniques of this world had major differences with his mysterious heaven skill. He had studied with Grandmaster for so many years, and naturally knew this bit. It was very difficult for everyone's spirit power to conduct internal respiration like him. But each person's spirit was different, and they also had different methods. Starting from this day, the ring sea that had surrounded and protected Sea God Mountain for countless years grew lively. Every day there were violent fluctuations like great waves and stormy seas, from time to time came bursts of intense light, and whirlpools constantly appeared in the sea water. Something like swimming ability had very many techniques, but just like cultivating spirit power, there weren't any big shortcuts, only practice making perfect. Even though the Shrek 7 Devils party were all non-swimmers, along with playing in the water every day, as well as their formidable strength, they very soon grew accustomed. Their swimming ability grew stronger almost every day. Even though they still couldn't be described as fish in water, at least they wouldn't be too hindered in the sea. Even Xiao Wu returned to her body for a time every day to go into the water with everyone. Making everyone else envious was that the devil spirit Great White Shark Xiao Bai would never attack Xiao Wu, so much so that she would even take care to avoid Xiao Wu when launching attacks. What Xiao Bai said after that battle really wasn't empty words. The true significance of its strength could be displayed in the ocean. 100,000-year sea spirit beast in the sea was a terrifying existence. Tang San could be sure that even 4 or 5 title DouLuo might not be her opponent in the sea. Fortunately, she really did start off leniently. Even though everyone were frequently beaten until they were covered with cuts and bruises, Xiao Bai would only drive them out of the ring sea and then stop attacking. Moreover, she never harmed them in any true sense. Through constant battle in the sea, everyone clearly understood that their opponent was not only the sea spirit beasts. It was also the ring sea. Under Xiao Bai's control, each drop of sea water became their enemy, rejecting them. Besides Xiao Wu, Xiao Bai's attacks to Tang San were the gentlest, perhaps because she was apologetic over the mistake that day. But she absolutely wouldn't throw the game. To her, she was the everyone's second trial examiner, and this authority and duty was assigned by the sea god. No matter how powerful she absolutely didn't dare show private considerations. However, as the days went by, as everyone were trampled by Xiao Bai in the Ring Sea each day, they gradually also started to feel trampled. Everyone admired Xiao Bai's strength, but Xiao Bai was also very curious about them. In her eyes, after these land spirit masters gradually adapted to fighting in the ocean, they also gradually revealed how extraordinary they were. Even though they were still far from her opponents, if she wanted to rout these people on dry land, she would also have to pay a considerable price, possible even her life. Of course, that was under circumstances where Tang San's blue-silver emperor spirit abilities could be used. As examiner, she of course knew how Tang San was restrained. He couldn't use 200,000-year spirit abilities, and two great domains were unable to show their full strength, such restrictions were quite severe. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Half a year since the start of the second trial. Xiao Bai, be a bit gentle. Girls should be gentle. Oscar was sent out of the Ring Sea by a deep current, falling firmly on the beach. The sudden ache all over his body almost made him unconscious, and he couldn't help grumbling loudly. However, immediately after him, Tang San, Dai Mubai, Zhu Zuqing, Ning Rongrong and Xiao Wu were also sent out of the Ring Sea one after another. Anyone as bad as the next, all cutting sorry figures. Xiao Bai's shark head stretched out of the water, spitting out human words at Oscar. Little Ao, big sister here is already very gentle. If I wasn't, I'd already have beaten your butt into 8 pieces. Ah, wrong. I really don't know what part about this fellow you like. He's so vulgar. And what erect golden fly, are all males among you humans this obscene too? I'd best introduce you to a handsome sea spirit master. A lot purer than him. Ning Rongrong looked speechlessly at Oscar, her eyes brimming with smiles. Due to her being a support spirit master, Xiao Bai was quite considerate to her. Even when incarnating as a human woman, Xiao Bai still didn't have the property of human women to be jealous of others' beautiful features, and on the contrary was quite close to the 3 girls of the 7 devils. Of the 3 women, only Xiao Wu refused her affection, due to her almost killing Tang San. Even though Zhu Zuqing was cold and detached, she would still occasionally exchange a few words with her in the gaps between battles. Instead it was Ning Rongrong who had the best relationship with Xiao Bai, and they became good friends when not fighting. Oscar flew into rage from embarrassment and crawled up from the sand. Xiao Bai, you can't slander me. A pure and honest good man like me, and you actually call me obscene? Call me vulgar? Can I decide something like spirit abilities? This is innate. You're pure and clean. Xiao Bai's big eyes revealed intense contempt. Come on. The spirit is born from the heart, you're obscene to the bone, otherwise how would your spirit be so obscene? I see your eyes aren't any good things. The next time I'll beat you a bit harder. How can the gap between you and Dai Mubai be so large even with the same spirit? Even if you beat people, don't slap their face. Xiao Bai, you're slapping face here, the two of us can't coexist. Oscar jumped up and down on the beach. However, his current spirit power was already close to exhausted, and charging out wouldn't be any use. The others all looked at him with laughing expressions. They didn't know what was going on either, but Oscar seemed like he and Xiao Bai were natural enemies. Each time everyone were blasted out, Xiao Bai couldn't help taunting him. Xiao Bai gave Oscar a provoking look. Come on. This old woman will was clean and wait for you. Scared of you, ah. Just being scared of you is no good. However, little Ao, let me warn you, men can't be no good. You. Little Ao was so speechless with anger, but no matter how he hit, the always resourceful him was still helpless after meeting Xiao Bai. I'm ignoring you. This old woman will wait for you all in the sea. Hurry up and recover. You can't let me wait for too long. Finished speaking, Xiao Bai turned, returning to the depths of the Ring Sea. When she left, she still didn't forget to raise her giant tail to splash Oscar tumbling. Xiao Bai, this daddy'll fight at you with you. Oscar was unbearably deflated. He wanted to charge into the sea, but Ning Rongrong hurriedly grabbed his waist, stopping him. Little Ao, what's up with you and Xiao Bai? How come she targets you like that? You didn't peep at her bathing. Dai Mubai said with schadenfreude from the side. Oscar was livid. How would I know? Every time that fellow attacks it seems to be targeting me, and every time I'm the first to be beaten out, the one who falls the heaviest. Don't tell me handsome guys aren't popular now. Little Ao, don't be that narcissistic, alright. Dai Mubai laughed out loud. Wrong, you've gotta be careful. As they say, the fiercer the hatred, the deeper the love. Maybe Xiao Bai fancies your little Ao, and deliberately targets him for that reason. Girls do quite like his peach blossom eyes. Ning Rongrong snorted, saying. And your dual pupil eyes haven't attracted girls? I trust our little Ao. Listening to Ning Rongrong, Oscar's previous anger was completely swept away, and he looked immensely self-satisfied at Dai Mubai. However, Ning Rongrong's next words almost made him fall over. How could Xiao Bai fancy him, et? Ning Rongrong giggled. Oscar was extremely depressed, but as he with evil shape and evil form was about to settle accounts with Ning Rongrong, she'd already taken a step away. Just as Oscar said, Xiao Bai really did target him, showing him some extra consideration with each attack. However, it was also just because of this that the original food system Spirit Master's combat ability was soaring. Even though he still couldn't compare with a true power attack type Spirit Master like Dai Mubai, he still had some ways to employ Dai Mubai's spirit abilities with considerable force. If it wasn't for his physical strength being a lot weaker than Dai Mubai, as well as having lower cultivation, he might truly have been able to catch up. However, without the assistance of the Sea God's Light, even though everyone fought assiduously day after day, their spirit power promotion speed had clearly slowed down. Half a year had passed, but they all still kept their previous ranks, only approaching the rank breakthrough. It showed just how difficult cultivation was after spirit power reached the 70th rank. Spirit masters above the Spirit Sage realm normally advanced one rank every few years. They all confronted such pressure every day, so they would advance comparatively quickly. Just as everyone prepared to start recovering their spirit power through cultivating, suddenly, a resonant phoenix howl rose from behind them without the slightest warning. The atmosphere near the sea instantly heated up, warm invasive currents rising to fill the air, even bringing a somewhat smoky scent. Pleasant surprise appeared on everyone's faces simultaneously. They all turned to look, only to find an orange flame brimming with aggressiveness soar up, transforming into a giant phoenix that flew towards the horizon. Set off by that enormous phoenix flame, a chubby silhouette slowly walked out. His pace was steady and forceful, the aggressiveness of a leader manifesting without doubt. That really wasn't the aura of an emperor, but rather the aggressiveness of being placed above all living things. The terrifying aura of the king of 100 birds. When the equally flight-type spirit master Bai Chenxiang saw that slowly walking silhouette, she couldn't keep her knees from shaking, a difficult-to-suppress trembling feeling filling her whole body. That was the fear of higher-level spirits of the same type. Even if the needle-tailed swift was also quite a good spirit, it was still far off when compared to the king of 100 birds. Gradually, Ma Hongzhen's face appeared in everyone's view. His eyes were already completely replaced with the radiance of flame, and orange flames rose and fell all over his body, just like the god of fire descended on the world. Nowhere was a trace of his ordinarily vulgar appearance. Contrasted by the flame he looked quite tall, so much that even the other of the 7 devils could feel the pressure he brought. Everyone knew that, undergoing tireless cultivation, Fatty had also finally reached that important pass, successfully breaking through the 70th rank bottleneck, entering an all-new realm. The flames gradually faded, but it felt like Fatty's temperament had undergone considerable changes after breaking through. The grandeur of the phoenix was expressed in all his gestures. Walking straight up to everyone, Fatty halted and looked at them. I succeeded. He had a faint smile on his face. That noble aura of a leader gave Bai Chenxiang a feeling of her pulse speeding up. She suddenly felt that her grandfather's choice on her behalf was a bit reasonable. Oscar's recent depression still hadn't completely disappeared. Looking at Fatty's appearance he snapped. Damn Fatty, will you die if you don't act cool? The noble smile on Ma Hongzhen's face went rigid, the next moment his former nobility vanished completely as if smashed. Fuck me, little Ao, you noticed. Oscar looked distracted a moment, but immediately reacted. Fuck me, you really were acting. Boss Dai, I'm not one to be belligerent. However, this Fatty is acting cool like this in front of all of us, can we tolerate it? Dai Mubai grinned sinisterly. Of course we can't. Beat him up. Speaking, 2 rotten youths lunged practically simultaneously. Don't! Fatty cried miserably, crouching on the ground with both hands behind his head. He didn't resist, letting the lunging Dai Mubai and Oscar thump him. Tang San only smiled, without participating. Someone always had to stay calm, and Tang San played the role of official. Actually, Daimyo Bai and Oscar didn't wallow Ma Hongzhen more than a few times, then helped him up. Alright. Fatty, you've caught up this quickly. Oscar laughed out loud. Fatty's self-satisfaction reappeared. But of course. I am the descendant of the phoenix. Ning Rongrong burst into giggles. If the phoenix saw how fat you are, it might even spontaneously combust. Fatty snorted, saying. Your little AO is the most handsome, got it. Third brother, I broke through. How can I get the 7th spirit ring? As a spirit master, who didn't want to possess their own transformative 7th spirit ring? Fatty was no exception either, his small eyes brimming with the light of hope. Tang San smiled slightly. We can't do without you. Catch. With a flick of his wrist, a fiery light floated out, directly towards Fatty. Fatty reached out, and grabbed it. As that fiery light entered his hand, immediately, a strange feeling filled his whole body. He couldn't help being somewhat astounded. Third brother, isn't this that 10-headed fierce yang serpent's Neodon? Tang San nodded. That's right, that's it. The 10-headed fierce yang serpent is a snake-type chief. Even though it's not a bird, it also isn't a spirit beast, but rather an ancient mythical beast. But it also has the fire attribute, and moreover a yang fire attribute, the same as your phoenix flame. I once talked it over with teacher. It's certain that this 10-headed fierce yang serpent Neodon contains the overwhelming majority of the 10-headed fierce yang serpent's capability, and also possesses an effect similar to a spirit ring. Consume it and use the phoenix flame to digest it, and it will naturally become your 7th spirit ring. The 10-headed fierce yang serpent is a tyrant among snakes, but the phoenix is its nemesis. Even if its flame is overbearing, it shouldn't be a problem for your phoenix flame to digest it. The 10-headed fierce yang serpent I killed absolutely wouldn't be inferior to any 10,000-year spirit beast. It's quite suitable for your 7th spirit ring. Moreover, with its identity as an ancient mythical beast, there should also be some special benefits to it becoming your 7th spirit ring. I can't tell what the concrete details are, we'll have to wait and see until after you've absorbed it. Begin now, all of us will guard you. Ma Hongzhen looked over the 10-headed fierce yang serpent Neodon in his hand, then looked at Tang San again, unable to keep his eyes from reddening a bit. No. Third brother, I can't take this, it's too precious. Even though he didn't know what creature the 10-headed fierce yang serpent was, as the holder of the phoenix flame, he could sense the immense fire attribute energy the Neodon in his hand contained, as well as an aura that made his heart thump. He understood that it would be extremely difficult for him to find anything better than this as his 7th spirit ring. With the quality of this 10-headed fierce yang serpent Neodon, it wouldn't even be an injustice to use it for his 8th spirit ring. Tang San frowned. Fatty, what did you call me? Ma Hongzhen looked distracted a moment. I called you third brother. Tang San angrily said. Then what are you still blabbering about? This thing is something I kept to give to you. Ma Hongzhen looked foolishly at Tang San, without uttering a word for a long time. Suddenly, he fiercely clapped his mouth. Right, what am I blabbering for? Third brother. Hereafter this fatty's pork is yours. Speaking, he swallowed the Neodon in his hand. Tang San's expression eased. I don't want your pork, I only want my 4th little brother. Quickly sit down and absorb it. Even if the phoenix flame can restrain the 10-headed fierce yang serpent's flame, this snake's flame is extremely potent, you must be careful, you can't be careless. Ma Hongzhen rubbed his face, flicking off something moist, then really didn't say anything further, immediately sitting down and starting to cultivate. But from how tightly his fists were clenched as he sat could be seen how his emotions surged right now. Daimyo Bai walked up next to Tang San, grabbing his shoulder. Oscar walked over from the other side, hooking his other shoulder. Even though neither of them said anything, the girls to the side could feel the 4 men in front of them being pervaded with that kind of affection between men. The orange-red flame that had just stopped burning soared up again, and even Fatty's skin turned orange in an instant, his fleshy face showing an extremely painful expression, even his seated body became a bit unsteady. Tang San's heart chilled, immediately realizing that he had still underestimated the 10-headed fierce yang serpent Neodon's potency. That time he killed the 10-headed fierce yang serpent there was a certain element of luck involved. Hurriedly shrugging off Daimyo Bai and Oscar's hands, in a flash, he appeared behind Ma Hongzhen, speaking in a low voice. You can't do anything. Your spirit power all have characteristics and aren't suited to helping fatty. Me alone is sufficient. Little Ao, give me one limit surpassing dark green sausage, one stimulating pink sausage, one big recovery sausage. Wrong, boost my spirit power and fatty's attributes. Quickly. Tang San's words were as rapid as popping beans. This time they revealed their true teamwork. When Tang San finished speaking, 3 sausages were already flying towards him from Oscar, and Ning Rongrong's 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda was already released. Sitting down cross-legged behind Fatty, Tang San drew a deep breath, eating the 3 sausages without the slightest hesitation, and also not minding the limit surpassing dark green sausages' side effects. Both hands instantly turned jade white, pressing on Fatty's back simultaneously. They had just battled Xiao Bai, and their spirit power was close to exhausted. Otherwise Tang San wouldn't have needed the help of little Ao's 3 sausages. There could be no hesitation at this moment. Tang San clearly understood that the very start of absorbing the 10-headed fierce yang serpent Neodon was the most dangerous. If problems appeared, Fatty would be in trouble. The fair and gentle mysterious heaven skill inner strength directly poured into Fatty's body. After infusing the spirit power, Tang San didn't fuse it with Fatty's phoenix spirit power to help him guide it, but rather stuck close to the spirit power to lay down defenses in his meridians. He had no understanding of Fatty's spirit power circulation path. If rashly helped Fatty lose control, he would instead easily cause the opposite reaction. His current method was instead the best defense for Fatty. Ning Rongrong's boost also made a timely arrival, bestowing Tang San with spirit power boost, and Fatty with attribute boost. At the same time, the phoenix flame blazed, forcefully withstanding the frightening erupting force of the 10-headed fierce yang serpent Neodon. Tang San could clearly sense that, even though the color of the 10-headed fierce yang serpent Neodon's erupting fire attribute energy was the same as the phoenix flame, it was even more explosive. Only its attribute was innately suppressed by the phoenix flame, and thus didn't fully erupt. But even so, it was still extremely dangerous. However, Fatty's ability to endure exceeded Tang San's imagination. Although the 10-headed fierce yang serpent Neodon's energy barged through his body, Fatty's phoenix flame constantly transformed into a shield and resisted without cowering back. Tang San secretly praised him, saying in a low voice, "No need to mind your meridians, melt it." With Tang San as support, Fatty no longer needed to use a portion of his spirit power to guard his defenses. All the phoenix flame focused together in an instant, launching a counterattack towards the 10-headed fierce yang serpent Neodon energy. In an instant, the overbearing energy of 2 auras brimming with equal masculinity underwent a death struggle within Fatty's body. The intense collisions made Fatty's body constantly erupt with balls of blazing flame. The hearts of everyone watching alongside were now in their throats. Tang San's clothes were already burnt black, and the hair that had grown out again since absorbing his 7th spirit ring was again turned to coke by the flame erupting from within Fatty. But Tang San's body still didn't seem to have suffered any damage. Both his hands were still lustrous white as jade, constantly pouring his spirit power amplified by the 3 sausages and Ning Rongrong's boost into Fatty. In fact, Tang San had undergone the refinement of the ice and fire yin-yang well. His body was originally immune to both water and fire, only his water immunity referred to cold, and so it should more accurately be called immunity to both cold and heat. Even though his clothes and hair had suffered calamitously right now, his body hadn't received any true damage. After all, no matter how powerful the phoenix flame, it was still only a human force, while the ice and fire yin-yang wells cold and heat were forces of heaven and earth. There was still a gap between them. Only, right now Tang San's appearance seemed quite scary, like he had turned completely to charcoal. Now the others truly understood Tang San's meaning. Not only weren't they suited to helping Fatty, Tang San hadn't even mentioned the even more important part, because none of them could resist the sustained broiling of the phoenix flame. Each of their hearts was touched. From selflessly providing immortal herbs, to now not sparing himself to help Ma Hongjun absorb the 7th spirit ring, they had all seen everything Tang San had done. Even the 7 devils boss Dai Mubai had no feelings of jealousy towards Tang San. In his heart, the words Tang San had only one meaning. Brother. True brother, eternal brother. Brother for a lifetime. One white an idiot, Ziobai, means idiot, and, white is also part of, idiot. Too obscene, little white is using internet slang here, calling him YD, short for, Yindang. End here. See you, likes, subscribes, shares and comments.